2023 Paper 2 question 14b. We looked at 14a in the last video and we were given this context of a cuboid with dimensions as shown, and we had to show that this equation applied. We then have to calculate x, the breadth, and give the answer to 1 decimal place. Pause the video if you want to have a look at it. Go look at the last video if you haven't already. But the idea is that x is governed by this equation, and we have to calculate x. So essentially, you want to solve this equation. You want to solve that equation to find a value of x. Now that equation is a quadratic equation, and because it's a quadratic equation, you have two methods for generally solving quadratic equations. You either have factorization or you have the quadratic formula. Now, it says give the answer to 1 decimal place. Because we have a calculator exam and we're told to round it, we can safely make the assumption that we can't factorize to solve the quadratic equation given in section A. So we're going to use the quadratic formula, which I will show you in a second. But this question highlights something that many pupils don't know, and something that some teachers inadvertently forget to teach pupils. That if a question is split into multiple sections, A, B, C, so on, the answer to the last section often, but not always, is used in the next section, and so on. This does not apply to maths, but in other subjects, especially the sciences, this sometimes is the case. It's not always the case, but always look at what you've done in the last answer or the last section and think, can I use this to then solve this part of the question? So we're going to solve 2x squared plus 14x plus 14x minus 45 equals 0. And you should know that we can write a quadratic equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So matching up the coefficients of x squared, we have a equals 2, we have b is 14, b and 14, and be really careful with your positives and your negatives. But c and, well, this is 2x squared plus 14x plus minus 45. That's essentially what that means. So you're adding minus 45, and the term independent of x is minus 45. So we can write c as minus 45. Let's pop up to the formula list, and the quadratic formula is the first one on the list, and copy this one exactly as it is, because it's very easy to get this one wrong. So the b squared minus 4ac has to all be inside the square root. and it's plus or minus, and this is all divided by 2a. Make sure you put the line across the whole of the minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Now make sure you copy this down, you copy it exactly as it appears, and it's highlighted in red. B is 14, so minus 14 plus or minus b squared is 14 squared. Take away 4. Take away 2. Take away, no, 4 times 2. Sorry, I mean 4 times 2 times minus 45. I think I said 4 minus 2. I meant 4 times 2. So 14 squared minus 4 times 2 times minus 45. And that's all being divided by 2a. Watch out for body mass, so that's 196. I apologise about the slight mistake I made a second ago. I said 4 minus 2. I mean, that's 4 times 2. I can get a few foot in the mouth moments, but I'll always explain what I meant. So that's 4 times 2 is 8, times 45 is 360. I've got 2 negatives. Make a positive. So that is plus 360. All over 2 times a. A is 2. So this is 4. Again, the line has to go over the entire thing. And we get minus 14 plus or minus the square root of, that's going to be 556. All divided by 4. If you want to plug this into the calculator, you're going to get 2 solutions. So what's going to happen is you're going to get 2 roots. And the reason for this is because you've got the positive and the negative here. So this root 556, get minus 14 plus or minus the root. And that then leads to us having 2 solutions. So doing all of that on the calculator will be 9.5796 52 ... all divided by 4. Or if we take the negative solution of root 556, you get minus 9.39, was it 3949 394913 ... And got 2 solutions, but only one of them is the answer. Look at the context of the question. We have to find the breadth. You can't have a negative dimension of a visible cuboid. That's crazy. Makes no sense. So we're going to discard this one. So discard this solution for x because x must be greater than 0. Because that's the only one that makes sense in the context of the question. So what we then have is that x equals 9.579652 all divided by 4. And we then get 2.394913. But the question asks us to round to one decimal place. So we round this to 2.4. So that's 2.4 to one decimal place. I won't put the units in of meters because it does already say x then meters. So you put 2.4 then meters. If you put 2.4 m for x, it would be 2.4 meters. So I think that's okay as it is. And let's have a look at how the SQA would mark this question. The first mark would be for getting it into the formula. Second would be for evaluating the discriminant. The discriminant is the bit inside the square root. The third mark would be for getting the two solutions. And the fourth mark would be for selecting the correct value of x. And we got rid of this one because it has to be positive. And this is the final solution. And you had to round it. You would get no marks for giving an answer without any working, and you would get no marks for guess and check, because the idea is that you had to show your steps of using the quadratic formula. You were expected to use the quadratic formula for this, so you're meant to use a mathematical approach as opposed to guessing. And you had to make sure you got a positive value of the discriminant, or the value inside the square root. And we've got a few commonly observed responses. But first of all, you want to make sure that even if you got the discriminant wrong, you could still get the follow through marks if you use the wrong part correctly. But you don't get follow through if you got a perfect square as a discriminant. It's a bit rubbish, but if you got, for example, 256 as the discriminant, which is 16 squared, you lose the follow through as well, because you've made the question easier for yourself, because it's easier to deal with the number 16 than it is 2.3 0.94, and so on. So let's have a look at the commonly observed responses. Some people just wrote down the discriminant of 556, which would be a loss of 1 mark. Many pupils put a negative value of the discriminant because they messed up the positive and negative signs. So what they did was they did 196 minus 360. They had to add 360 because it's two negatives. And kind of the same thing happened on this one, but this time they actually put plus 45 as C instead of negative 45. So that's a case of getting the wrong coefficient. And yeah, most of the issues seems to revolve around either messing up the signs or for forgetting to discard the negative value. So I hope you found this video useful, and best of luck with the studying. If you have any issues, just leave a comment in the comments, but thanks once again for watching this video.